a lot of people end up trying to solve that puzzle by diving into the realm of conspiracy. So for them, Jeffrey Epstein is basically the closest that they can arrive at like some kind of class politics, okay? Without actually recognizing class politics from the relations that they have with the means of production, or class politics in the Marxian sense.
We've been listening to the White House press briefing there, hit a number of topics, most notably, or among the notable topics, we heard about the president's medical condition, with the White House press secretary there saying that he was evaluated by the White House medical...
All right, we already covered this.
President Trump slamming some of his own this morning, supporters who say he should release the Epstein investigation.
Howard Lutnik's firm, Cantor Fitzgerald, is responsible for the USDT Tether, one of the biggest stable coins. It has never passed an audit and is very, very sus. It props up a lot of the crypto market. Guarantee he's lobbying hard behind the scenes. I mean, what do you mean behind the scenes? He's lobbying hard in front of the cameras. He is literally slammed inside of Donald Trump's ass cheeks every single time. So much so that anti-Semitic people have decided like he's Donald Trump's handler, his Jewish handler. Like, he's literally always there. He's always behind Donald Trump all the goddamn time. So he's not exactly been secretive about his ambitions. You know what I mean? How does crypto benefit the US dollar? I don't think cryptocurrency benefits the US dollar. I think cryptocurrency is or at least for like a lot of the maximalists, like they think the cryptocurrency will be the new sovereign currency. Except so much of it is in the hands of a couple people, and we don't know who they are. And not only that, but also it is a direct competitor to the global reserve currency, which is currently the petrodollar. But again, the petrodollar is like tied to an asset to a certain degree. It's also propped up by the confidence that people have in the American empire. Very, very rare L from Hasan. No, I'm just, look. I'm just telling you how it is. I'm not making a value judgment here about cryptocurrency when I say like some people want to make that the new global currency as opposed to the dollar. The dollar, which is the currency in which global trade is done. Most global trade is conducted on. But it goes against American empire and American hegemony. That is the truth. Especially considering that we don't know if, like, let's say Bitcoin became the global currency in which people do trade and it replaced the dollar. We don't know who owns like massive stockpiles of Bitcoin. Like a big chunk of the Bitcoin is in the hands of, the speculation is in the hands of one person, right? That is an insane amount of power for one individual to just like what? Single-handedly become the most powerful person on the planet, like Satoshi or whatever. Trump is selling out U.S. power to his buddies. Same thing with firing Jerome Powell, torching our long-term economy for short-term stock market gain. I think that Donald Trump and his buddies are basically picking apart the American empire's dying corpse for scraps. That's what I think. One of the most terrifying aspects of the big booty bill was America and the American government officially moving away from renewables, okay? This is one of the major reasons why Elon Musk understandably was frustrated with the bill. But like that signaled to the whole world that this next wave, this actual like this only exit ramp that we as a global planet have to move away from this finite resource of fossil fuels, America is not going to participate in this. We have completely conceded that ground to China. China owns the monopoly on this. They will be the leader of the future. They will. We don't even want to compete with them. We don't want to try and pump R&D and funds into making batteries more efficient, making batteries at all. We're not doing any of that. We have just completely given up on that. It is a way for the American government to basically say, you know what? We're losing the game of Monopoly, so I would rather flip the table and wipe it all out than to lose to China in the game of Monopoly. That is what we're doing. Are we cooked is a great question, and the answer is yes. We are cooked both literally and figuratively because of the way that, because of what our decision is in terms of like energy. Our decision for the future is we're going with fossil fuels. We're not touching renewable energy. We're just from even trying to develop new technology in renewable energy. It's kind of like if in the space race where we were behind, we went, fuck space, we're staying in cars. I mean, it's worse than that. Because at least with the space race, like, I mean, there's a lot of technological achievements that came from the space race, but like, ultimately, this is a life or death scenario. This is an existential crisis that we are refusing to reckon with in terms of climate change. Do you understand? And we're seeing the immediate results of this, or not even we're now seeing the tangible results of this climate change, anthropogenic climate change, in the form of like massive floodings that take place, whether in Kerr County in Texas or even in New York the other day. And we, instead of addressing these crises that are real crises that are killing people, we've just decided we're going to close our eyes and plug our ears, you know, and refuse to reckon with it and not even do anything to try to mitigate, try to prevent, try to do recovery and rescue. We're cutting all of that. It's just like, yep, you're all on your own. It's a knife fight. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy to watch it unfold. Hear politicians send us a letter to say our fires are ruining their summer. Pull NOAA funding information with NOAA also. Yeah, it is a very interesting, I mean, it's a very sad, very scary situation if we're being real. Like closing our eyes and just like refusing to stare at this existential threat that is imminent, or even like the early stages of said existential threat already taking place and just like refusing to reckon with it is so psychotic. It's so crazy. This planet deleted all life at least 5 times without us being around. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, what are you going to do? We will experience devastating droughts, ruining the agricultural sector. It's already happening in countries like Algeria and the whole northern Africa. Yeah. Canceling climate energy, renewable energy projects, canceling all of the research and development, or even resources that are expended at the behest of like figuring out when the next major incident is going to take place is so insane. It's the Trump COVID technique of just being like, if you don't recognize that COVID is happening, then it's like, it's as if it's not happening at all. Don't test it. Don't test it. But here's something that Trump is also trying to avoid talking about, and that is the Epstein files. And in the process of trying to avoid talking about it, he just keeps talking about it and extending the conversation. President Trump spars with Republicans over Epstein files controversy, calling it a big hoax. Let's take a look.
It was only a year ago that Trump and his allies helped spread conspiracy theories surrounding Epstein. Now the president calls them a hoax and says anyone demanding more information are weaklings and stupid.
This is why your lack of support and advocacy for indigenous governments is a problem. Yeah, you're right. I'm antagonistic and against whatever this means. Indigenous governments. I don't even, thank you. As you guys know, I'm famously against, I always, not only do I refuse to support it, I'm actually against it. And as a Twitch streamer with 33,000 people watching right now, in the process of talking about, you're an ethno-caserist? What does that mean? I like that I'm over here being like, hey guys, the planet is dying. America is just not invested in it at all. They're blowing up the planet. And there's so many wars happening. And the current administration is basically picking apart the dying empire for scraps at the behest of capital. And there are people who are like, you know what the real problem is? Your lack of support for indigenous governments around the world. Like, what are you even saying, dude? What the? It's just, I don't even know. I don't know. I'm throwing the towel. You know what I mean? You're more woke than me, chatter. I'm sorry. Woke of the day goes to you today. What the? The ethno-cacerist movement. The Peruvian nationalist movement is a Peruvian ethnic nationalist movement that espouses an ideology called ethnocacerism. The movement seeks to establish a dictatorship of the proletariat led by the country's indigenous communities and their descendants. It draws on the ideas and history of several indigenous and anti-colonial movements. Ethnocacerism is considered an indigenous ideology and is currently represented in electoral politics by the Union for Peru Party and other smaller parties. The ideology is also followed by Peruvian militant groups such as the Plurinational Association of Tahuantin Suyo Reservists and Ejército de Reservistas Andino Amazónico. I mean, seems good to me. I'm on board. Okay, I am a Maoist third worldist. I'm in favor of all Maoist third worldist emancipatory movements. Okay, all indigenous movements. I'm on board with. Okay, please stop yelling at me. All of them. All right, let's get back to this now.
Scott McFarland is with us from Washington with more on all of it. Scott, what's going on here? Good morning.
On this issue, Tony, the president is not holding back. The typical fire and name-calling he reserves for his political opponents is now being directed at some of the people who helped elect him to office. Hammered with questions about Jeffrey Epstein, President Trump tried to again turn the page on the controversy Wednesday.
They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously has some very serious problems.
But this time, the president is blasting some of his own supporters for continuing to discuss Epstein.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net.
And in a social media post, Trump called those who continue to press the issue weaklings. Before the election, the president, his current Attorney General Pam Bondi, and FBI director, along with his deputy, fueled conspiracy theories about Epstein's death in prison and rumored client lists the Department of Justice now says doesn't exist.
Their new scam.
On Wednesday, many vocal Trump supporters pushed back on the president.
The Democrat.
No man is a facade as the leader is a fascist for brown people, wants to kill LGBTQ and outlaw them. Okay, I'm not in favor of it then. Okay, that was a short-lived conditional support that ended. Okay, there you go. It ended. I am no longer in favor. I'm against that. Too late. Clip out of context. You are dumb, bozo. I don't care. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi came out and had some choice words on MSNBC, Mike Queen, on the Epstein stuff. We'll get to that in a second. Let's keep going.
New scam. I mean, this is more of a Republican issue.
Bringing this into the public arena was President Trump. That's a matter of historic record. It's not up for debate.
And it's not just conservatives.
Jeffrey Epstein's what we're talking about, and we want your calls.
In Frederick County, Maryland, Pastor Tim May, who hosts a show on community radio station WFMD, says callers of all political stripes are criticizing Trump over the issue.
If you're not going to release it, just be upfront about why you're not releasing it.
If there's nothing on it, show it to us.
Your show is about the local high school, the county government, but you're getting calls about Epstein.
It's like a mosquito. It keeps coming back to bite you, and you have to address it. And it's interesting, to say the very least.
It keeps coming.
It does. It does. It's the story that everyone wants to go away, and everyone wants to stay.
Senate Republicans.
Yeah, I wonder why. I've had conversations with friends of mine that don't understand why people are so hyper-focused on this, and I keep trying to explain to them that, like, for the average American that is a liberal without even acknowledging that they're a liberal, because like liberalism is monoculture. Okay. Liberalism requires a different myth making. Okay. A different kind of world building that is not materialist. Okay. So in that worldview, you have good, bad dynamics. Some people are good, some people are bad. That's precisely the reason why conspiracy theories, especially in a country like America, are so prominent. Because conspiracy theories seek to solve the question, why are things the way that they are? And because we are so devoid of any sort of materialist lens in which we view history from, a lot of people end up trying to solve that puzzle by diving into the realm of conspiracy. So for them, Jeffrey Epstein is basically the closest that they can arrive at like some kind of class politics, okay, without actually recognizing class politics from the relations that they have with the means of production or class politics in the Marxian sense. That's why you hear a lot of people go, well, this is not just about left and right. This is just about, you know, the people versus the elites. Because that's precisely what this is. Jeffrey Epstein is a very visible aspect of societal elites, you know, incredibly wealthy financiers, you know, leaders of nations doing terrifying things behind closed doors and not experiencing any repercussions for that. Okay? It is perhaps the greatest example of wealthy people getting to do whatever they want and being above the law. And that is the reason why a lot of people, regardless of their ideological markers, hyper-focus on this issue because it's a very obvious issue with severe crimes that we know of that have taken place. That's why so many people hyper-focus on this, okay? It's some of the most vulnerable people, young girls, being sex trafficked by some of the most powerful people on the planet. That's why it doesn't matter what your party allegiance looks like. You want answers to this. And it's very obvious that Donald Trump, a lot of people voted for Donald Trump because they were like, oh, he's an anti-establishment guy. He's not one of them. He's rich enough that he is not corruptible. That was, I mean, it was wrong to think this, of course, right? But plenty of people still thought it. He was able to successfully market himself as this like anti-establishment guy. And considering that the Epstein case is like a classic example of like previous administrations protecting the establishment, protecting the societal elites, the expectation from Trump's base of support was that Donald Trump would actually crack the code. It was basically the most like immediate way of moving away from like the crazy QAnon conspiracies to a very real thing that took place that everyone understands was up. Because unlike QAnon, Jeffrey Epstein is real, is a real person. And he had real victims. And he had real associates. And governments have consistently been suspiciously quiet about this major case. So if you're still firmly a believer that these institutions are supposed to, at the end of the day, you know, do some kind of justice, this is a severe ongoing injustice. That there are people out there who have done horrifying crimes and have been associated with someone who is a horrible criminal, and they get to live amongst us. They get to dominate society. Of course, people are going to continue to demand answers for this. And Trump presented himself as the guy who would give us those answers. And many people in his base believed that he would give us those answers on this issue. So for many people, this is the first time when they're like, oh my God, maybe he is actually one of them and not one of us, or working for us. Maybe he's just another creepy billionaire, which is of course the case. Yes, that was always the case. But this is a moment of recognition for a lot of people. It's a wake-up call that Trump doesn't have their interest in mind. Trump is also just like any other Republican politician or any other Democratic politician, a part of the uniparty. And it wasn't enough that he was, he consistently showed that that was the reality with the Israel stuff, with the with the fact that he did not end the wars on day one, right? No new wars. With the fact that he bombed Iran. He could at least like get enough of his base to be on board with all of those things. But this is one issue where the base is not going to let up, because it's this is like one of the only things that they care about. And one of the only things that they know Trump has complete control over. So if you have complete control over the release of these files and potentially, letting justice be served, and you're refusing to do that, then yeah, of course, people are going to be frustrated. I'm a dialectical materialism moral philosopher actively working on a theory to build classless tool of relatability that anyone can use to assess themselves as an individual in terms of knowing active and historic oppression. I'm writing about my thoughts of memology, virality, communism, and to be honest, anything. Jesus Christ. Chronically on Lenin Substack. Why you are a communist? That's crazy. Charlie did a video on it.
It should be painfully obvious to anyone that's been following all of this.
Yeah, this is also the other reason why, like, a lot of otherwise, like, apolitical guys who have shied away from doing a lot of commentary as of late are grabbing onto this, because this is an apolitical issue. And by that, I mean, this is an issue that you can talk about without alienating your right-wing audience. This is an issue you can talk about without having... It's a unified issue. So it's one that you can talk about, which, yeah, Ludwig did one too. Because remember, MoistCr1TiKaL basically said, I'm throwing in the towel. I don't want to do this, like, drama stuff anymore. And part of that was because, like, people were obviously yelling at him quite a bit. And it's a shitty situation to be in. I totally understand that as someone who gets yelled at quite a bit professionally online. So, you know, that's part of the reason why, like, you know, people like Charlie and Ludwig will release their takes on this, because it's not something that, like, right-wing content creators and their audiences will yell at them over. Because let's be real, a lot of these guys, regardless of their own personal political perspectives, I think shy away from releasing takes that might alienate some in their base of support, not because they're worried that, like, people are just no longer going to like them. I think it's mostly that they're worried that they're going to be targeted and yelled at, because they see it. Every content creator sees how people get treated if they have an honest opinion that deviates away from whatever the commentary space and their right-wing, apolitical right-wing opinion is. You get harassed endlessly. You have bots that come after you. So the reputational damage is not worth putting your name out there. That's it. Ironically enough, of course, no, it's not even about the money, chatters. I think it's literally beyond that. I think it's because they don't want to be dogpiled. Okay? They see it. That is in the same way that the government actually engages in chilling effects on speech by actively suppressing speech, by jailing dissidents. The internet side of things, the internet commentary side of things, is basically kept together with negative pressure, a consistent flow of doxing, harassment, and threats, and people that come in and try to ruin your life. And many creators see that, and they say they don't want to. They don't want to be a part of that. They're too afraid to put their name out there and get endlessly harassed. Ironically enough, I've talked about the negative consequences of this, because, like, if the only kind of commentary that you hear in this space that is considered permissible is right-wing, or people saying they're apolitical but lean on right-wing takes, then that creates an environment of permission for only right-wing commentary. It literally turns the entire space into a right-wing shithole. But that's a totally separate point. $40 for a t-shirt? Yep. American made, union made, baby. But let's see what Charlie had to say.
That it is clear the government thinks that you are an idiot. They think you are a drooling, stupid Cro-Magnon that will just happily swallow anything they put into your mouth and not think anything more of it, so they don't even need to try when it comes to the cover-up of the Jeffrey Epstein case. There is now a desperate push from Trump and a lot of paid shills to convince the public that the Jeffrey Epstein thing is no big deal and that it's all now a hoax. It has now been officially labeled by Trump and people on the payroll here as a hoax. And they are legitimately laughing at you and actually giggling. They cannot help but have like an actual Santa Claus ho 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 belly laugh at this play here, this play that John Madden's playbook wouldn't even have in it, about how they're just going to tell you that all of it's not real a week ago, and now they're telling you it is real, but it's actually like a big fake hoax from Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the Democrats. And for some people, that's enough. He hit the big buzzwords, so it must be true. So now a lot of people are running with that, like, we gotta move on from this Epstein thing. It's all fraudulent. He said so. Even though Trump literally campaigned as one of his promises to deliver this Epstein information, the client list. Now he is calling it a hoax. Now I want to mention something up top here that I'm very curious to see how it plays out. Yesterday I covered the amendment that was put forth that got smacked down at the Royal Rumble, where there was an amendment put forth that would try and force the DOJ to release the Epstein client list and all that shit. And it got voted against.
I'm surprised to hear Charlie say this because it's a hot button issue. No, it's a universal one. It's the people versus the elites in the most like obvious ways possible. That's why there's no, like, this is not one of those things where there's like severe repercussions. What is the F happening? What is there, like an actual F? I can't tell anymore.
The Republicans voting to block it.
This is the most bipartisan issue. That's why that is part of the reason why like people will have takes on this that you normally wouldn't hear takes from.
Democrats voted unanimously to not have it be blocked, so that way they could at least have a debate about the Epstein files and the handling of it. It didn't go to the next step. It got stopped there. And there was a lot of like citing of confusion and how like, well, actually, no, that's not what the vote was for because it was attached to the Genius Act, which is a different cryptocurrency legislation. So they were voting to not do that. And then this was slapped on top of it. So they had to vote no or else it'd give the floor to the Democrats or something. But ultimately, the end result was the same. It got blocked. Well, today, there's a new proposal that's getting put forth that is aiming to do something similar in a different way, that has support from all the Democrats and 7 Republicans as of now, but apparently even more will be co-signing it, about releasing the Jeffrey Epstein client list and that kind of shit. So I'm very curious to see how that unfolds. I'll go ahead and play you a little bit here where they interviewed.
And tomorrow. And this is to force, this is a discharge petition, right? It's going to force this bill onto the floor of the House, and then what does it say?
So it's both the discharge petition and the bill. It's the discharge petition is to force it on the House. The way it works is Thomas Massey and I introduced it yesterday. It takes 7 legislative days before you can actually go through the discharge petition. We're likely going to be in August recess. So the reality is it probably will come up for a vote after the August recess. And the bill says to release all evidence for the Epstein file, but it makes it clear that does not include any of the victim information. It does not include any child pornography. It gives the DOJ the ability to protect the victims, but to release all the other evidence and files.
So here.
Now, I'm not the most knowledgeable person. I'm a Neanderthal when it comes to most things, but from the sound of things here, it seems like this is a step in the right direction to maybe finally getting justice for the victims here of Epstein and all of his clients, instead of what's currently happening where the current administration is just trying to bury it and being very clear that they're not even pursuing any kind of action against all of the people they have all this evidence on and not releasing any of the client list information. This seems like it's trying to force that to come forward and maybe eventually, hopefully, get those criminals thrown in jail for all of the crimes they've committed. I guess we'll see how it all shakes down, but I wanted to mention this up top because it seems like it is finally getting to a point where there is some kind of legislation to try and push this issue more forward. Now, let's talk about how Trump continues to handle this. He is like full-blown melting down about the whole thing and fully lashing out at his own base now. He is attacking even his most adamant supporters over the Epstein.
What? It's POCD, pedo obsessive compulsive disorder. People are really too obsessed with pedophiles. The richer, the better. After the big X, you can't get beyond hidden evidence, become unrewarding, then you will know. Talking about this is on par with UFO disclosure. It's a joke, and we know how to take care of it. I mean, there's a difference between the Epstein stuff and like Pizzagate, right? Like, I think Pizzagate is completely insane. Or people thinking that like Wayfair is participating in like the sex trafficking of minors is completely insane. Jeffrey Epstein is a criminally convicted pedophile sex trafficker. Like, that's not a criminally convicted pedophile sex trafficker that was associated long after he was outed and arrested and jailed and got a sweetheart plea deal with global elites. I think that there's a difference between, like, I know that the conspiracy theory and real conspiracies, like a conspiracy to commit a crime, and the language used here kind of muddies the waters, but there is definitely a difference between someone like Jeffrey Epstein and what level of involvement he had with people that we know of and people that have been able to hide their involvement, and what kind of illicit actions that they engaged in, as opposed to like UFO shit. It's not that complicated. People get obsessed with pedo catcher shit because it's the lowest rungs of society. So even if someone's is a grandma pill stealing piece of shit, they can always find someone else that society hates even more. The Epstein factor brings it to a whole different level, though. Yes, exactly. That is definitely a thing that MHUD has talked about before as well, but and I have I've also talked about as well, like the whole like pedo catcher stuff that like pops off. In most circumstances, you see like people who engage in that kind of content, people who make that kind of content are pieces of shit themselves, and maybe even sometimes pedophiles themselves, right? But the reason why they do that is because like it's the easiest way to say this is the most evil person that you can. A pedophile is the most evil person, right? That you can point to, and then by definition, you're going after people who are the most evil people in society. So you look good in comparison, no matter how big of a piece of shit you personally are. This is not the same thing, though. You know what I mean? This is not like going online and like trying to trick like a mentally stunted adult and then ritualistically humiliating them in this like honey trap scheme that you created so you can get clout on kick.tv while simultaneously you're doing a lot of illicit shit on the side. This is very different than that. This is, you know, Prince Andrew and disgraced financiers and former heads of state and former intelligence agency leaders were directly involved with this person. Okay, that's a totally separate realm. Like even like Andrew Tate or Diddy and the crimes that they've engaged in do not meet the standard of Jeffrey Epstein, which is why I hold it in a totally different category beyond like the pedo hunter shit.
Case. He's even saying with his whole floppy chest that you are a bad person if you care about the Epstein stuff. So
yeah, one of the craziest defenses that I've seen on this from the Republicans has been, oh, if you want justice to be served, you want to actually see CSAM. Which, of course, everyone's favorite Israel defender, Lolicon Enjoyer, also had that to say as well. This weirdo. Insane stunt. Democrats wanted to release thousands of videos of child porn to the public, so when Republicans inevitably blocked it, they say, block the Epstein files. What a psychotic approach. No one believes this. Right? Even like most people in the MAGA base don't believe this. Absolutely zero people that want justice to be served here are creepily obsessed with like releasing actual footage here. Okay? This is the least smart way of deflecting the attention, of spiking the football, basically. Very, very strange. Not so strange coming from this guy who obviously has, you know, shown his friends drawn children, just projection. But like it is truly one of the dumbest ways to try and deflect the attention away here.
Saying that it's boring and nobody should care, even criticizing his own base, calling out his most loyal MAGA supporters, all the enthusiasts, calling them weaklings if they care about this and how they're falling for a big scam, hook, line, and sinker into a Democrat galaxy brain chess maneuver. Actually, like I wasn't exaggerating, they are literally laughing about it.
It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say let them have it.
So there you hear it. Now, to some of you, the copium's going to set in. You're going to say, hey, he said the credible information, we can release it. We should release it, and we'll talk about that. But they also say in the same interview, we already released the credible information.
And the credible information's been given.
So if it's already been given, they're not going to give you more stuff.
CoffeeZilla recently just covered this section here beautifully. I'm just going to show you a couple of clips here from it where that guy next to Trump actually couldn't contain his laughter.
That guy next to Trump is Howard Lutnik, Cantor Fitzgerald's very own.
He was howling like someone went over there and started tickling him because of Trump's statement here about Epstein, calling people bad people if they care about this. The literally one of the biggest pedophiles in history. Now all of a sudden it's boring, nobody should care, and actually you're a weakling, coward, weirdo, loser, bad person if you do care. So he's trying to get people to like attack others who give a shit about this, which is crazy. Because imagine being this brain dead fucking bumbling homunculi on Twitter that is now attacking people that are calling attention to this. When keep in mind, Trump himself actually had a crucial component of his campaign talk about the Epstein client list and all of that information and how he was going to be so transparent and release it to the public because of how important it is. Not just Trump, other people in the administration as well made the same promises that are now flip-flopping on it. This is pure concentrated lunacy. It is unhinged. And I cannot believe that he is just saying this. Like, not even like tiptoeing around it. He is just full-on saying it. Fucking wet spot in his goddamn diaper here, just saying it in front of the cameras.
Yeah, the guy who's standing next to him is Howard Lutnik, Jeffrey Epstein's longtime neighbor who bought his townhome from a trust controlled by Epstein and Les Wexner, who, for the real conspiracy heads, look up Howard Lutnik 9/11, okay? Howard Lutnik did a takeover of Cantor Fitzgerald, which lost like 600 employees on 9/11, okay? He's in the Twin Towers. Howard Lutnik then, he wasn't there that morning. He was taking his son to kindergarten. That's not the suspicious part. I'm not saying that he like knew that it was happening or whatever the fuck. His brother died on 9/11 at Cantor Fitzgerald. Howard Lutnik then took, Lutnik then took he basically did a settlement, okay? And he sued as the chief of Gerald. He sued the airplane companies. Okay. Cantor accused the airline of failing to prevent hijackers from taking the plane that crashed in the firm's headquarters in the North Tower of the World Trade Center. After years of legal wrangling, American Airlines agreed on a $135 million settlement. Howard Lutnik literally took the settlement funds and distributed it by shares of Cantor Fitzgerald, which he retained the most shares on. So he basically did this successful litigation against American Airlines and then kept most of the money. It was one of the most insane things I have ever read in my whole life. It is so, it's like comical, okay? It's comical levels of evil. Some people inside Cantor Fitzgerald believed the money would be distributed to the families of company employees who died in the attacks or put into the firm's general coffers. But during a conference call in March, Lutnik told senior executives the bulk of the money would be distributed among the firm's partners. Dog, what do you mean? Am I dumb? Why is that bad? Why is that bad? Chatter. This is a 9/11 settlement for the family, for the victims of 9/11. The many people that died, like almost the entire firm was wiped out on 9/11 because they were in the Twin Towers. And he took the money. Are you kidding me? He basically kind of robbed the victims and the family members of the victims of 9/11. 600 employees died. That's 600 family members that were supposed to get paid out. He took the bulk of the money in the settlement, because the bulk of the money would be distributed among firm's partners, according to one person on the call. Further, the person said each partner would receive $2 for each partnership unit. The source also said Lutnik is widely believed to own the biggest piece of the firm's partnership shares, thus entitling him to possibly tens of millions of dollars from the settlement. I have no idea how much he made from this, but he is the biggest partner, the source said. The speculation in the firm suggests Lutnik took anywhere from $15 million to $25 million from the settlement. A spokeswoman for Cantor would not deny he was entitled to receive millions of dollars, and neither she nor Lutnik would deny the speculated amount. A senior executive at Cantor said the manner in which the settlement was distributed, including the chunk of money Lutnik received, is entirely appropriate, since Cantor never promised family victims a portion of the money in the first place. The executive described the case against American Airlines as a business interruption lawsuit, since Cantor's offices were destroyed in the attack, meaning it was appropriate for the company to keep the money. That is Wall Street, baby. That is real Wall Street shit right there. Comical evil. Yeah, it was a business interruption suit. So we are the ones who suffer, not the families who had their family members die on 9/11. 600 of them. It is us, the executives, who survived it. That's the guy. That's the guy who is tasked with crippling the federal regulatory agencies. Okay? For those of you who don't know, the guy that is always around Donald Trump, Howard Nutlick, also known as Howard Lutnik, American businessman, philanthropist, who has served as the 41st United States Secretary of Commerce since February 21st, 2025. He was a part of the Trump campaign, and now he is the Secretary of Commerce, also tied to Jeffrey Epstein. Despite the fact that he's lying, despite the fact that he's like smiling in the background, and I think this is maybe a little bit more too inside baseball for Charlie or CoffeeZilla to investigate. Howard Lutnik, much like many of their New York City financiers, is also tied to Jeffrey Epstein. Howard Lutnik's real estate ties to financier and child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein are once again drawing scrutiny, given the Commerce Secretary's apparent support for President Donald Trump's dismissal of what he described as the Epstein case. Oh, they pointed out?
Multiple times now. Like, this is...
He was the next door neighbor and he bought Jeffrey Epstein's manor.
This is an element you won't find on the periodic table, the element of surprise, because I am shocked by this and how people are actually okay with the statement. He is saying that you are a piece of shit if you are trying to get answers about the biggest child predator of all time and all of the evil associates that are getting away with the unthinkable crimes they committed.
Also, Cantor does not dispute the most frequently heard complaint that the company dropped the missing employees from its payroll on September 15th. True, the employees are no longer working, but some firms that lost people in the disaster are keeping the missing employees on the payroll until families have some other safety net in place. Some unhappy Cantor families have argued that they expected similar treatment in light of Mr. Lutnick's public professions of concern. They dropped the employees that died on 9/11 from the payroll. Demonic. 4 days after 9/11, Chad. 4 days after 9/11. It is so nutty, dude. He is a real ass demon, bro. Okay? And Trump looks at that guy and goes, that's my guy. That's my guy. He's my demon. Can't wait for him to run the country like a business. Like a business. Art of the deal, baby.
Still been no arrest or anything even close to it. And he is now calling even people in his most tight-knit groups of enthusiasts that sing his praises and suck farts out of his butt all day, calling them weaklings if they care about this. It's unbelievable. Oh, also, there's a little interesting tidbit of lore about the guy who was laughing next to Trump.
The guy next to Trump looking on and laughing as Trump says this is a big nothing burger. The only people who would deal in this kind of talk are fake news. That is Epstein's neighbor. That is Howard Lutnik, who has a house that was next to Epstein's place. You can see him laughing here.
Isn't that... This was a TV show. People would criticize this for bad writing, being like...
Also, if this was a Democrat, the Republicans would literally be up in arms already. Like, they would be trying to actively assassinate the leadership. Okay? As a matter of fact, a big part of the reason why people on the Republican side care about this so much is because of the understandable fascination they have with the deep connections that the Clintons have with the Epsteins. I want answers for that as well, because I'm not a partisan shill. I don't give a... This transcends beyond politics. This is precisely the reason why I say, for a lot of Americans who don't have any sort of like materialist perspective, materialist framework, this is like class politics for them. This is the societal elites engaging in illicit behavior in a way that they can understand, in a way that they are fascinated with.
Like, too in your face. I mean this legitimately. The government thinks...
This is the most real version of the cabal. You know what I mean? Of the deep state pedophilic elite cabal. This is like the most real version of that. Okay? They're not doing like, they're not sacrificing things for some like unforeseen God or whatever. Like, that's not the truth. That's not the case. But like a complex, intelligence-backed blackmail operation that ties a lot of societal elites together. We want to know the involvement. We want to know the level of involvement. It's not about adrenochrome, but we want to know who did what. Why did they do it? What did they do? What was the extent of their involvement with a person like Jeffrey Epstein?
You are an imbecile. They think you are a buffoon. that can't think for themselves at all, can't rationally, sensibly think about anything, so they can just piss in your face and tell you it's raining, and you'll smile about it and nod and say, thanks, you're right. I mean, and I guess they're actually kind of right here, because there are so many people that are just buying into this and moving on from it.
Mr. President, I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your Attorney General told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen of that?
No, it's not the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run for years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And
does he just actually think everyone in this country is Drew Barrymore from 50 First Dates that just forgets everything after a few seconds? Goober, you literally made the promise multiple times that you would release the Epstein information and all of that shit. People around you made the same promises, and now it's just crickets and just falling in line with your delusional attempt here to convince people that it's all some kind of hoax. Nobody is buying that. Nobody that's not on payroll, that is buying that. It is absurd. If this was constructed by the Democrats, surely they would have used it as a weapon against you for the last 4 years that you just mentioned. They would have definitely dropped this information as a means of attacking you. Literally anybody could tell you the same thing. The immediate question that gets raised in people's heads when you keep spreading this stupid lie about it being some kind of engineered hoax is, well, why are you just now saying that when you campaigned on releasing this information? It was a part of your campaign.
What is the hoax exactly? That the people are on the list, the conspiracy that he didn't kill himself? No, we don't even fully understand what the hoax is, because Donald Trump just kind of says it's a hoax, but he doesn't like actually say what is the hoax. That's the other thing. It's like Donald Trump, under different circumstances, is usually fairly good at like manipulating the conversation, driving people's attention to something else. This is one of those moments where he's like caught with his pants down, pissing against the wind, where he's like, oh, it's a hoax. And people are like, what is the hoax here? Like, what is the hoax? Like, did Jeffrey Epstein not do it? Was he innocent? Like, what do you mean it's a hoax? And he's basically approaching this in a fairly careless manner, throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. First, he said, we'll release the files. First, he said he's going to release the files. Then when he came into office, they did a phase 1 of the release, and everyone was like, this is shit that we knew already. What the fuck's going on? You didn't release anything. And then Donald Trump came out and was like, why are people asking about Jeffrey Epstein? It's not a thing. There's no files. There's no list. Shut the fuck up. And then he came out and said, there is a list, but the list was created by Obama and Joe Byron, and that there's a lot of fake, phony stuff in the list. And it's like, okay, well, what is it? So there is a list. Let's see the fake list. But we already know he's all over the list, technically. Like, of course he's mentioned in the files. He was directly linked with Jeffrey Epstein for many, many years. But we don't know the extent of his association with Jeffrey Epstein past a certain point. That's the thing. We don't know. We don't know the extent of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein even before they seemingly separated. But we certainly don't know the extent of his relationship afterwards. All we do know is that people that were involved with Jeffrey Epstein in a very meaningful fashion, who are connected to societal elites, were backers of Trump. Alan Dershowitz, obviously one of the famous examples, was Jeffrey Epstein's friend and also lawyer. But then beyond that, and he is one of the people that have been sued by a victim, Virginia Giuffre, who passed away recently. But outside of that, I mean, like we've talked about before, Alex Acosta was Donald Trump's labor secretary. Alex Acosta was the prosecutor that gave Jeffrey Epstein that initial sweetheart plea deal. So there are a lot of these people that just like keep coming up over and over again, which have like, a 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon style association with Jeffrey Epstein. And it's not even 7 degrees. It's like directly involved with Jeffrey Epstein. There are so many people who are either directly or one person removed from Jeffrey Epstein all over every single administration. So how and why? I mean, Pam Bondi was the DA in Florida when they flubbed the case the second time around. Pam Bondi was literally the district attorney. It's not 7 degrees of separation. It's 1 degree sometimes, or direct involvement. And they're all over his previous administration. They're all over his current administration. They're all over every other administration as well. So, of course, people are going to be asking some questions. And this is one of those things that I think liberals are trying to, not even a DA, the Attorney General, exactly. But it's one of those reasons, like, well, people ask me this question. They're like, well, if there was a lot on Trump, like, why didn't the Biden administration release this information? And I say it's the exact same reason why Trump won't release this information, regardless of how implicated and how involved the Clintons are. It's because rich people are protecting one another. Do you understand? Rich people are protecting one another because they are all involved. There are a lot of people. This is uniparty. It is bipartisan. Just like defending Israel is bipartisan for our societal elite, okay? Constantly finding money for more military incursions is a bipartisan process in Congress. Engaging with a pedophile sex trafficker that has intelligence connections is also a bipartisan process. It transcends beyond party politics. It is an expression of class solidarity for the owning class, for the capital ownership class. That's it. Correction, Bondi was Attorney General from 2011 to 2015. The first case was 2008. Thank you for the correction. I was wrong. I thought it was longer. I thought 2019. And I think before that, she was a district attorney, no? Wait, let me look up. Yeah, I think she was a DA under Alex Acosta initially, and then she became the Attorney General. She was Attorney General from 2011 to 2019. Exactly. Yes. And then in 2019, she became a lobbyist for the Qatari government. Yeah. During the second case, she was Attorney General in the state of Florida.
It's all just a big hoax. And
that's why I said she flubbed it the second time.
And just part of the, like, in his first couple months in the office, he also made a big song and dance about the Epstein files and how they're coming. And he even had fucking the file folders distributed to a bunch of fucking drones, a bunch of androids that were parading it around and taking prom pictures with the Epstein files phase 1, who also are now being called weaklings by Trump because they cared about the Epstein files. So he is actually calling those people that he gave those files to fucking weaklings, and says, he did say he doesn't want that kind of support anymore for anyone that cares about Epstein. So he is actually also calling those people weaklings as well. Not that I think they give a shit. They probably enjoy the humiliation here from him. I have no idea. But like, it's crazy because he has also made a big deal of it, and now all of a sudden it's nothing. No one cares about it. It's all just a big act. It's a hoax, actually. None of it's real. It's all fraudulent from the fucking Democrats or something.
It's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, that was a hoax.
Like, half of the stuff that he's like throwing here, I don't even know. Like, what is the 51 agents? He's just like, I feel like he's making up new shit. As a Trump stan, as a parasocial stan turned hater, okay, I've been pretty close. I've been tracking all the fucking conspiracy stuff that he talks about. What is the 51 agents? I feel like that's new. That's a new thing. Like, he says Russia, Russia, Russia. We know that one, right? We know the Russia, Russia, Russia when he says that. What the fuck is the 51 agents?
It's all been a big...
Like the Hunter laptop, Steele dossier. Is the 51 agents like the number of agents that were involved in the Steele dossier? Is that what it is? The laptop from hell. Because Russia, Russia, Russia is also the Steele dossier. Holding former government officials accountable for election interference and improper disclosure of sensitive governmental information. At least 51 former intelligence officials coordinated with the Biden campaign in 2020 to issue a letter describing. Oh, this is the Hunter Biden laptop. Okay, so 51 agents is the laptop from hell. The laptop from hell. It's 51 agents that issued a letter saying the laptop from hell was bullshit. Saying that it was not Hunter Biden's laptop. To be fair, I also got duped on that. That was a big L for me. I also personally initially thought that the Hunter Biden laptop was hacked material. I mean, I was still fascinated with it. I still obviously covered the events and covered the things that were in the laptop extensively. That didn't stop me from covering it. I thought it was ridiculous that they were trying to like suppress this information from coming out on Twitter. But I also did think it was hacked material. But as you guys know, I don't have any sort of, I don't give a shit if something is hacked material, as you know. But the reason why I thought it was hack material, because I was like, there's no way a human being is that stupid that like this kind of kismet coming together, Hunter Biden leaving his laptop with a blind laptop repairman who happened to be a massive MAGA guy was so perfect. It was just like so perfect that I was like, there's no way this is real. This must be hack material. That didn't stop me from covering it. Of course, I covered it extensively because I think it's stupid when these guys go, oh, this is hack material. They did this with the WikiLeaks shit too. I was like, there's no way this guy filmed himself smoking crack over and over again with his dick out and then had all of those photos on his laptop that he left with a blind laptop repairman who was a MAGA guy who gave the laptop to the Trump admin. There's just no way because it was that stupid. Turns out, nope, he is that insane. That story is insane. It is real. All right. Yeah, the laptop repairman that he left it with was blind as well. Unless I'm misremembering, I'm pretty sure the laptop repairman was blind. They made a point about it on. They made a point about it on the. When they were covering it on Fox News. Everything you said sounds like a skit. Nope, that's how stupid. That is how stupid this administration is. That's how stupid American politics is in general. That's why so many people from all around the world tune in to my broadcast to see what is the next thing that will happen in the dumbest country on the planet that happens to rule the entire planet.
Some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements we've had.
He's not being shy about it. Like, he's not being timid. He's not over here, like, under his breath saying these things. He is actually just full-blown multiple times saying how stupid people are if they care about Epstein case and all of the evil people that have gotten away with it that are actively being covered for by this the previous administration as well. Anyone that's ever cared about the Epstein case apparently is stupid in Trump's eyes and has been deceived by an elaborate Democrat hoax, which they never actually used for some reason. I guess, because that makes sense. It's demented. He has latched onto this titty hard and is trying to suck all the milk it can possibly get from this narrative that nobody is believing. No real people, that is. He is so desperately on his hands and knees, crawling, groveling, begging people to move on from it, trying to even give it like a title. Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax.
Yeah, that part was really bad. I mean, normally he's a pretty good marketer. But this was really bad where he's like, everyone's calling it that. You should call it that too. It's like, no, I don't think people are calling it that, man. I think you want people to call it that, but I don't think people are gonna call it that, big dog. That's just, yeah, when your goat is washed, that's what this is.
And then again, calling out his supporters, saying that they bought into the bullshit and that they haven't learned their lesson, never will. It's just crazy. Like, he's actually even attacking.
Do you think he genuinely doesn't understand that his base actually cares about this? No. I think, and I've said this a lot, and I will keep repeating this. People used to get more mad at me when I used to say this in the last administration. Trump, in moments that matter, is just a regular ass Republican. He is the logical conclusion of Republican politics. Okay? And for that reason, he already did his job. He already got the tax cuts. So it doesn't matter. Yes, he likes being liked. He likes being admired. He's a narcissist. But beyond that admiration, he did his job already. He got the agenda. He got the agenda that he set forth. So everything after that is just like bonus points. And obviously, as a regular ass Republican, once he got the tax cuts in, it's over. He's making his money on cryptocurrency schemes. He's farming the government for Trump properties all around the world. He got a nice little jet from Qatar, right? He's doing all that shit. He's also giving like some crumbs to the base as far as like doing mass ICE raids all around the country, things like that. So he's giving some cookies to the white supremacists that really, really want mass deportations to continue to take place. And that's it. I think it's because he won. He already won. So everything else from this point on is just like, I don't think he gives a shit, you know?
his own base now. He says, let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think of talking of our incredible and unprecedented success.
Nitpick, the September 2019 Epstein case was federal and in New York, not Florida. As Florida Attorney General, Bondi would only be involved in state cases. She also left office in January 2019, so she sucks, but she didn't really have anything to do with all these people, obviously. Oh, she was a ASA in Tampa in 2008 also. No, that's not an actually. That's valid. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification, chatter. I'm wrong. I'm wrong for saying Attorney General Pam Bondi had any involvement whatsoever in the initial case. Because the initial case was conducted by Alexander Acosta, who was a prosecutor. And then I recall the local police department also. I recall the local police department also losing some tapes and you know, and ways in which they had like flubbed the initial investigation and the second investigation as well. Like there's always some like inconsistencies. I thought you were taking a break. No, that's tomorrow. I do think that even as Attorney General, though, the idea that you don't have any involvement with like an active criminal that has operated from Florida is still wrong. Like there are things that they could have done. There are things that she could have done as well. I believe you can like when the Miami Herald article came out, I don't know if Pam Bondi was still the Attorney General, but I'm pretty sure they could have seized, like they could have moved on Jeffrey Epstein quickly when she was the Attorney General and the information was coming out. Instead of, yeah, she was the Attorney General when the Miami Herald article came out, and there was a lot of conversations about like reopening the Jeffrey Epstein case, and she didn't do that. Like that's the extent of her involvement, rather lack of involvement, where she didn't actually. HasanAbi archive, making it sound like you're quitting streaming. Jesus Christ, dude. Whatever, who cares? Yeah, she could have brought a state case against Epstein as the Florida Attorney General anytime from 2011 to 2019. No question. That's what involvement, which is to not do anything from 2011 to 2019. And because like the Southern District of New York opened a case against Jeffrey Epstein, right? Southern District of New York opened the case, and that's where they were like, I mean, but in Florida they could have done so as well, or even before the Southern District of New York. But I guess you know, it's better that the Southern District of New York opened up the Jeffrey Epstein case instead of her anyway, because who knows what kind of trickery would have taken place if Pam Bondi was involved in that.
It's because I don't want their support anymore. You can literally hear him crossing his arms in that statement. Well, I don't want their support anymore anyway. Like a child mad at their parents because they didn't get a cookie after dinner or something. It's so pathetic. I really don't understand how just a normal person could see all of this and still just write it off as no big deal and be supportive of the way he is handling this shit and the administration, the way they're handling it. It's incomprehensible to me. Now, I understand people who are...
What's stopping from destroying the files? I mean, if you want my honest speculation, wee-woo speculation, it's literally sexual blackmail of elites. It, you know, it requires a lot of work. They work really hard for those. They're not just going to cast that aside. They're not going to burn it in a pit. That's literally decades of sexual blackmail, potentially. That is incredibly valuable sexual blackmail. I don't think they're just going to toss it aside. Alex Jones take? I mean, dude, this guy is a convicted pedophile sex trafficker who was directly involved with people that we know were outed by victims who happen to be members of the royal family, famous professors at Harvard who also were on Jeffrey Epstein's legal team and are Trump boosters and Trump defenders, former presidents, former secretaries of state, Hillary Rodham Clinton, Bill Clinton. Like, what are we talking about? You can't just say fucking everything is Alex Jones because something just like smells weird, you know? And we also know from the investigation that took place that there were fucking there were thousands of hours, terabytes filled, according to Pam Bondi. Now it's just child sexual assault, sexual abuse material. But initially, there were names written on those fucking folders, and the motherfucker had cameras everywhere, in every room. Why did he have cameras in every room, in all of his homes, and tapes of people with names written on the fucking folders, as a prolific sex trafficker connected to elites from all around the planet? What do you think is going on there? You think he just has an eye as an amateur filmmaker? You think that's what was going on? Why did he have cameras in the fucking bathrooms, for example? What the fuck? What is that about? Why did people like Ehud Barak, former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, go to his house? Like, what do you think was going on? Yeah, he was a streamer house. How did he make all the money? Why did so many people like Les Wexner basically give him power of attorney? Other disgraced financiers in New York. Why did they keep giving him hundreds of millions of dollars? What do you think was going on? I just don't think we'll ever know the full the full extent of this. But it's crazy when people just go, dude, this is just a conspiracy theory. It's like, no, it's not. I do think it's very suspicious, but powerful people go to rich financiers' house isn't exactly shocking, even without the trafficking stuff. No, the shocking part about it is that these are not just powerful people going to rich financiers' house. These are powerful people that were directly tied to intelligence. Like the former head of the CIA having meetings with this guy is a fucking big deal, especially past the point of like everybody knowing he is a pedophile sex trafficker. Do you see what I'm saying?
Tending to be okay with it because they're getting some doubloons under the table for it. But this, like any sensible person would see this and immediately smell the shit. It's just so fucking nuts how blatant this is. And it's, I just can't help but keep talking about it. I can't stop yapping about it. It is unreal.
I don't think there's that many elites involved with stuff like this. Yes, there are. At what point do you stop indulging the conspiracy? But I'm sus because there's not much evidence out there. Okay, but you can't say. How the fuck is everyone a pedo? I never said every single person involved with Jeffrey Epstein is a pedophile. You're just adding shit that I did not say. I'm always